A new update is out now for Dying Light 2 and a lot more improvements are on the way, of course following the day 1 patch that already included hundreds of fixes. Like, I know a lot of you guys have pointed out, especially on the consoles, that you had buggy playthroughs. Well, it seems that Techland is taking all of that feedback in and is working on a ton of performance improvements and fixes very soon. But in the meantime, the next few months are also jam-packed with a ton of fresh DLC content, and we already had a glimpse into one of the DLC's possible locations, which is why I wanted to cover that and more in this video, so let's begin. And let's get started, of course, with update 1.05, right now available for the PC version, especially on Steam. And going over a quick highlight, it comes with some general stability improvements, performance, and a few bugs causing crashes were also squashed in the new update. And there's also an improvement to DLSS, which should also further improve that performance and stability, especially on hardware that can support DLSS. For the consoles, on the other hand, Techland has confirmed that they've taken a lot of feedback and are implementing a ton of fixes. And again, going over a quick highlight, it's especially true for co-op. There's been a number of disconnects, connection stability issues, and other problems. Well, it seems that that's going to be a major focus in the next update, but also for sound cutoff problem, not being able to like sell items at vendors, AI improvements, and much more. But obviously that's going to happen only next week, until Techland is getting like all of these submitted to Sony and Microsoft before they go live. There should also be some upcoming changes to the PC too after update 1.05, including finally the addition of custom mouse keybinds. At the very least, that's what Techland has mentioned working upon. Also additional video settings, especially for consoles, which I know are still struggling with that motion blur, so there should be some new implementations to kind of give you the option to either turn it off or maybe reduce it. I know that a lot of you guys have pointed out that you're feeling nauseated because of that motion blur, which I kind of get. I've also turned completely off on the PC as well. And also backup saves, I'm not exactly sure what this means. It's going to be both for the PC and the console version, and I'm kind of hoping that they give us an option to maybe see these save files in the game, especially since on the PC you can already make backups manually, but we'll wait and see. Anyway, let's look into the additional content and how that looks like in the upcoming months. And of course, starting with this month, we should already get a free DLC described as factions inspired. Basically, we should get these two outfits right here, one a survivors inspired and the other one a peacekeepers inspired, and it also seems to include one weapon each. And if you look in the game's files, you will already see that these items are already in the game, so they only need to be made available. The only question is now, how do you acquire them in the first place? Is it going to be tied to your faction allegiance, or can you get both of them regardless of your choices during the main story? Especially for me, since I kind of went both ways the first time, but obviously I was a bit more inclined towards the survivors first and then jumped into the peacekeepers. March and April also seem to be pretty filled. Next month we should get our first set of challenges that seem to be related to parkour, so maybe some new time-limited parkour challenges, or at the very least that's what that roadmap is implying. And of course, April should kick things off with mutated infected events starting right off the bat, and most likely also time-limited. If the first Dying Light is anything to take by, it should look something like this. During these time-limited events, you should also see some cool and more challenging encounters happening around the map, especially in this case in April infected related, but at the same time we should also get some really cool rewards, including unique weapons that you can't really get otherwise. We had one previously in Dying Light 1 that ended at the start of the release of Dying Light 2, and it included again a zombie event and some really cool rewards along the way too, but that obviously has passed. And of course, the second set of challenges in May should also be somewhat traversal oriented, but it seems to be a little bit more onto the paraglider side. I kind of want a few more challenges that involve the paraglider, because there seems to be an awful huge lack of them in Dying Light 2, despite how huge the city center is and how much verticality there is to it. And of course, this brings us to the DLC, which should drop around June, the first story DLC, and also the one that you actually have to pay for unless you already bought either the deluxe or super deluxe edition version of the game. And we kind of have a glimpse into what that DLC will include, because if you take a look northeast of the map, you will notice that there's an awful lot of high quality lodges and a full-blown city, even a few castles over there that can be seen quite easily even without binoculars. A lot of people have already pointed this out, but if you take a look at some of the train station maps, you will see that Elysium is actually featured over there, and it's also connected either to Trinity or the neighborhood, or well, district right next to it, because there seems to be a main terminal that connects that with the downtown, but it also brings you to Elysium, which makes sense because if you take a look at the hills right across Trinity, they are pretty much inaccessible since they are all into this like poisonous effect that literally kills you in seconds. So it wouldn't be out of the question to reach that Elysium area by simply using these train station tunnels, kind of like how we already have done when reaching the city center, or well, the downtown region. And it would be nice because there seems to be an awful lot happening into that second town. Taking a look at possibly the closest area I was able to find in the game, you can already see that it's a pretty big area. It already has its own like city going on, but it should also feature a lot more castles and a lot more medieval kind of structures, which also begs the question, is the setting of Dying Light 2 set in France? Because there's an awful lot of chateaus sort of on hills, and it kind of reminds me of France, and I don't think it fits any other, you know, country, but totally let me know down below what is your opinion. But in the meantime, we have to wonder what types of new mechanics will the new update, or well, DLC introduce, because if you look at that section of the map, it seems to feature a lot of flat terrain, and the question now is, will this first DLC for Dying Light 2 do the same of what the following did to the first Dying Light? And especially so I'm referring to vehicles, because if we take a look at some of the in-game files, there's already one sort of, let's just say, vehicle in Dying Light 2 as it is, which is the bicycle, and you've likely seen some footage of this in the past couple of days. Well, it's fully functional and it's also really fun to play around with. It also has its physics and collisions, so if you hit an obstacle or a zombie or something, you're gonna fall flat on your face and you're gonna get damaged. And it's also pretty funny to go around with because it's literally faster than your character, and it's also a lot more fun. The only thing it might be missing is the ability to maybe jump over the obstacles. You can still use the ramps, but it's obviously still not completed. Anyway, definitely looking forward to what Techland has in store, and yeah, as always, let me know down below what is your opinion. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.